Tonight. It's a special night for me. I want to give a little bit of a speech, though. I'm not a professional speech giver. I think I've given 3 speeches in my lifetime. One was for Don's retirement a few years ago. One was for Sharon Radix's retirement a couple of years ago. And one was in school. I gave a very dynamic speech about how to clean a basketball. It was a demonstrated speech. You tell that my fellow classmates were sitting on the edge of their seats wondering how the end was going to be. So that's the 3 speeches I've given in my life. I've been losing sleep the last couple nights wondering what I'm going to do for tonight. And things popping in on my head about 3 o'clock. I thought, how am I going to start my speech tonight? And I went online and I got a couple starts on one, and I was going to go about, I was going to start with 407 years ago. But I didn't know what, the score was for 36 years. 1.5 score in 6 years, I didn't know. So I got rid of that one. Another one I thought I might take off on it was John F. Kennedy's speech and ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And the takeoff would be ask not what Brion can do for you, what you can do for Brion. Now that I'm retired, I thought, my God, that might be a good one. But in the end, I went with this one. This is a story of how I got into law enforcement in the first place, and the things I encountered along the way. That's page 1 on the way. It was January of 1976. I was 5 months from graduating, and I didn't have one clue of what I was going to do. I got a pamphlet from the Alley Tech School, and on the cover of the pamphlet it had guys playing basketball. I was a natural athlete. So I thought, this is what I want to do. One person so I can play basketball more. So I applied for the class and I was accepted. That's when I passed my first background check. First week in class, we were becoming acclimated to our hand-me-down uniforms, baggy, saggy, sad-looking uniforms, and we had to wander around school with them. 18-year-olds wandering around school with uniforms on, you kind of feel a little bit self-conscious about it at first. So that was the first week. Second week was our first inspection. 80 cadets in the gymnasium. The inspector comes up to me, he looks me over, and he says, "Son, when was the last time you shaved?" The only answer I could give him was never. Well, that drew laughter from the 80 other cadets in the class. My self-esteem took a huge hit. So I was told, you got to go home and shave before you can come back to class. Where? I didn't have anything to shave. So I had to go uptown and get stuff, and okay, I shaved, and I came back to class. 7 or 8 tissues on my face. But I made it. So, again, the self-esteem issue over that, but I got through that. So during the 2 years of tech school, I become kind of a leader in my class. We made it through the 2 years. I was kind of a leader because I was the best basketball player. Basketball, sports, whatever, I was the best one, so I was kind of a leader. So 2 years went by and we came to our last inspection. Standing there, I was much more confident in myself. The inspector came through me again. He said, "When was the last time you shaved?" And I looked him in the eye, and I said, 2 years ago. That answer might have been okay until I said, which was about the last time you taught us anything. That one got me 50 sit-ups. That was not the answer he was looking for. That's the one I gave. I told you I felt a lot more confident about myself. So as luck would have it, job opening came up here in Traverse County. I applied. I found out later it wasn't a highly sought after job. Only 4 people had applied. But I got that. After strenuous testing, again, I passed another background check twice. I passed the background check. And I was offered the job. And I thought, I tell you, I'm in hog heaven. I'm making $750 a month. $750 for me, you know, single at $750. What I do right away, I went out and bought a new car. But one last thing I had to do though before the job was offered to me was I had to pass a psychologist's report or they had to make sure I was in the right mind to do this job. That should be easy. Which it was. I passed the test, but there was some things on my report that kind of upset me. One of them was that I said, he likes to participate in sports, but he's just not very good at it. Kind of shocking, because I remember I scored over 1,000 points in basketball. 1,500 yards rushing in football. I think I batted over 500. Didn't I, George? More than bad. Mike Larson, did I finish first in cross country, or did I even compete in cross country? And I know I won a couple wrestling matches, so I thought I wasn't a very good athlete. But he said one more thing on my thing. He was impressed with my average. With my average intelligence. He was impressed with that. I wonder what he would have been if I would have been like a Rhodes Scholar or something like that, and how impressed he would have been with that. Well, so I got the job and I was ready to go. Bad guys look out in Traverse County. I want to talk about a few of my first in Traverse County. My first speeding ticket, Mike Miller. I signed my name where he was supposed to sign it. My hands are sweating. My first DUI, the guy's name was Mark Michael Macy. I didn't know where he's from, but I stopped him for speeding. I let him go. Half a mile down the road, I stopped him again because he couldn't keep the car on his side of the lane. Took him down to the office. Don had to come and do a test, and I think he made a mention about what this guy do, run into Brion? First time I had to serve civil process. Crusty old guy up north. I went on and I gave him his papers, and he looks at me, he says, I would wipe my ass with these papers. He threw them on the ground. They never told us that Alec Tech that. Civil process. First domestic situation I ever went to. Don sent me out to take a mother and her kids to Fergus Falls Crisis Center. So Tim told me, husband's not going to be there. Okay, I go out there. Don was wrong. The husband was big and he was mad. He asked me some questions. And in my best tough voice I said, "Hold on!" Worked like a charm. I'm not supposed to talk about these next couple incidents because it's something about catching a fellow deputy out parking, and also a future employee out parking one night. But I'm not going to mention that. Here's my first written reprimand. I don't think there was more than one, Don. Maybe more than one. It was somehow my son Derek had somehow snuck out of his car seat while I left him unattended by the jail. He somehow got out, put the car in gear, and crashed right into jail. That was my first reprimand. My first reprimand then was followed by a second one somewhere down the line, and to show bad things happen in 3, I had a third reprimand. I do not know how I still have a job. Quite patient with me on that. First cake party I busted. Straighters Gravel Pits. They had one almost nightly out there. But I went out there, took the cake, put it in the back of my car, went back up to the fire to talk a little bit, went back to my car. There it was, gone. Morton Company, did you have something to do with that? You'll never tell, he said. First time I ever weighed a truck. Roads were frozen, but the restrictions were on, so I weighed the truck. They were overweight. I gave them a ticket. You want to know how to make friends with farmers? You weigh their trucks in the springtime. First time I ever pulled my gun out on someone. We'd gotten information that there's someone in Newman's bar with a warrant. So me and the local officer go in there, we explain the situation. The guy's shaking his head like he's going to come with us. He bolted out the front door of Newman's. I, being in good shape yet, took off after him. It was raining cats and dogs. So we ran about 3 blocks behind Best Body Shop. It's about 3 blocks, maybe something like that. So it wasn't Mickey, but it was someone else. But, we ran back there, no radio. So they didn't know where I was at, so I caught up with the guy, pulled my gun on him because he'd been known to be a fighter, and I wasn't going to fight him. So I had him laying down in a water puddle. And I'm standing in the rain, and the fellow officer had no clue where I was at, so here we stood. I stood, he was in the puddle for about 5 minutes. So I said, well, something's got to give here. So I went and handcuffed him. We walked back towards Newman's bar and were eventually picked up. A couple of interesting things. Don has already touched on one. A couple of interesting things that happened was the power line protests out north of town. We made many trips out to the power line protests. They even cut one of them down. We really never found out who did it, but we had good ideas. Being up at Tinta at 2 o'clock in the morning, arresting a guy for drunk driving. Look up in the car, and another guy's beating on this lady in the back seat. It's 2 o'clock in Tinta. I'm on my own. I got one set of handcuffs. Pull back up. What do you do? I ended up arresting all 3 of them, but you know, it took some talking. I tell you. You know. Well, the next one is the Browns Valley bank robbery. I don't think we've had a bank robbery ever in Traverse County. You're a historian, Buff Dunn. Did we ever have a bank robbery? I'm gone. Trevor's at a meeting. No one's working. Except Brenda was working. We had that crime solved in an hour. By the luck of a Browns Valley resident and out-of-state police. We didn't even have to get our hands dirty. I could go on for a few more things, but Kurt Johnson said he'd get up and walk out if I got too windy. Now I want to get to some people that I want to thank. First off is Don Montani. You sure put up with a lot of dumb stuff I did in my younger years. But I sure learned a lot from you too in the 30 years that I worked under your command. The biggest one was how you treated people. You were fair, you were patient, you were compassionate, but you were tough when you needed to be. You let me make my own schedule so that I could coach my children in other youth programs. One of the highlights of my career was when you nominated me for Deputy Sheriff of the Year in 2007. It was a wonderful honor, Don. Thank you. I want to thank the commissioners, Donnie Apple and Jerry Deal and Dave Salberg, Kevin Leinecker, and Todd Johnson. I was told that when I became sheriff, they wanted to be one of my pains in my rear end, but they treated me with respect, and I couldn't ask any more from the county commissioners. Thanks to the local law enforcement agencies, the Wheaton Police Department, the State Patrol, and the DNR. You guys were always there when we needed you as backup. It was really appreciated. Thanks to the city workers in Browns Valley, Brenda Bartz, who was mayor, Tom Schmitz, Candy Duffield, Tony Siraki, Daryl Dobbs. They were our eyes and ears down in Browns Valley when we couldn't be there. I want to thank Matt Franzese, the county attorney. I didn't always agree with some of your prosecutions, but anytime I came in with questions, you answered them, and you always gave it your best. Thanks to the county shop guys for keeping my vehicles and my deputies' vehicles in working conditions, for keeping the roads open during the wintertime, for assisting in rescues of people that didn't heed blizzard warnings, no travel warnings. You rescued a few people, thank you. I always appreciated going to the county shop and being able to sit down at the table and talking with you guys. It always made me feel welcomed over there. But I will never give you roles that say vote for Brion. That's illegal. The only time I did that for them was the only time my predecessor happened to go over to the county shop was the day I delivered the rolls. Thanks to the Social Service Department for your help with the families that were in need of assistance. A huge thanks to the courthouse employees. I look forward to almost daily security checks so I can just talk with you. You all brighten up my day. Listen to my complaints as if you cared. Thanks to Cindy Blazing and Sheila Poles in the court services. Even though Sheila quit and left Cindy to fend for herself. Most of the time they kept the court running smoothly. Not an easy task with lawyers involved. I want to thank my morning informational meeting group. Coffee in parentheses. Kurt Johnson's the president. Dennis Larson's vice president. Pat Larson is secretary. We have Tony Frisch. Jenny Python can't be here tonight because she's expecting a baby in a couple days. And there was anyone else we could drag down with us. Our meetings were always a good way to get the day going, but I don't know if we ever solved anything. I want to thank the staff that retired or took